All right, metal maniacs, it's the Meista from Brews and Tunes. Cheers. I am absolutely thrilled today to be chatting with none other than Lou
Mavs.
Mavs, and Wayne Noon of New York heavy metal band Severed Angel. Thank you so much for joining me, guys. How you doing?
Thanks for having
Doing,
us.
yeah, thanks for having us. I'm doing great.
New York
Excellent.
heavy metal
It's been a
band. That sounds
crazy
good.
day. Yeah,
It's a great band too. So first off, I just got to say congratulations. You guys released your full-length debut self-titled album just this last week. Oh, there's a copy
And we
right
finally
there.
got copies.
it's got
Yes.
CDs in the mail today.
Awesome.
So we have
Very
CDs.
cool. Very cool. I was lucky enough to get to hear an advanced copy of it. I love it. It's such a great album. Just one of the things I really love about what you guys are doing is it doesn't, I mean, kind of traditional heavy metal, but I mean, there's so many elements and so many nuances with your music. It's this really lush tapestry. I'm really enjoying what you're doing. And I love the singles that you put out this past year as well. So anyway, congratulations. Very cool stuff.
Thank you.
Very much. Yeah, and I've said it didn't really we didn't like plan it out to like we're going to play this kind of metal, that kind of metal. We just we all listen to so many different bands. Like Mark's into like a lot of black metal stuff, and I like thrash and power metal stuff. And Lou, I don't know what Lou listens to, but yeah, we're all.
I just listen to everything that's got a melody, and I try to take influence from everything. I mean, I can listen to Steve Hackett era Genesis to something as far fetched from that, like the Birthday Massacre. So I just try to kind of, if I hear something that I like from someone, and if there's a way I can kind of like throw it against the wall and see what sticks, like that's my writing process, really.
Oh, interesting. Nice. I like that.
So we just throw all of our influences into a blender and it becomes Severed Angel.
Nice. So tell me, so I know the band is relatively new. So what are the origins of the band? How did it start? And that's another thing that I think's great about is that you guys, again, relatively new band, but you've made a big splash very quickly. I think there's a lot of buzz about the band. I've been seeing a lot of stuff around. So yeah, kind of what are the origins of the band? How did you guys all get together and go from there?
Yeah, actually, me and Lou have a podcast together called Rat Salad Review, and it started with that. We've known each other for like 20 years or so, through an old band that I had, and Eddie Van Halen passed away. Lou wanted to do a cover song of a Van Halen song, so we did Atomic Punk.
We were in the pandemic, so we had nowhere to go. So we figured, all right, let's just do something fun.
Nice.
Yeah. And my other band was kind of on hold. We released our album and we were kind of on hold. And I still wanted to make music, and I always wanted to do something with Lou. And he finally agreed to, do that cover song of Van Halen. So I was happy with that. And we did a couple more cover songs. And then I was like, why don't we just start doing original music? And he was kind of not wanting to do it. I don't know. I don't think he really likes me, by the way.
I despise you. No, you know what it was? I don't mind admitting this. At the time, my mom had just passed away. So I really wasn't thinking about anything musical at that point. But Wayne was incredibly persistent. Like he was able to get George, our bassist, Mark, our keyboardist, Alex, our vocalist and producer. So I was like the last person to jump on board. And he's like, he wasn't forcing me to write stuff, but he's like, do you have anything that you've written? So there was a song that I wrote 12 years prior. At this point, it's 13. It was a song called Dogs of War that I wrote for my wife's cousin, who at the time was an MMA fighter. Now he's an Army Ranger. I said, this is the last real metal song I really wrote. What do you think we could do with it? And his response was a lot. So we just kind of snowballed from there. Everyone redid the song and the creative juices just kept flowing from there. So, and it took 3 months to write and record and finish the album.
Yeah, 3 months we had 9 songs recorded and
Wow.
the Ghost cover. So
yeah, that's a lot. That's a yeah. I mean,
and we never stopped. Even when we were done with the album, and figured we had enough songs for it, we just kept going, and that's where the singles came from, because the singles were after the album was done. And we just kept going, and then we're still going. We just actually finished album 2. We're working on album, we're working on album 3 now. Some other things in the mix too, but yeah, we're just not stopping.
Wow,
nothing will stop us.
You guys are that's great. That's great news. Yeah, I love that kind of energy and that focus, that hyper focus. That's really cool to see, especially as a fan, you love to hear that, but there's lots of, because I mean, it seems like especially nowadays, and especially with big, big bands, big, like Iron Maidens and bands like that. I mean, it's years before, between albums, sometimes 6 years, sometimes more. So it's great to hear, it's kind of that old work ethic of bands, like the Beatles, and cranking out a lot of music in a very short window of time, which is, again, as a fan, you love to hear that.
Yeah, I think we just really wanted to record songs that we ourselves wanted to hear, which is really what it is. I mean, we like them enough to release them, and if people like them, then that's only a bonus. If people don't, our attitude is, well, we're still proud of them, and when these are songs that we would love to put on playlists of, like, our favorite bands. So that's pretty much our attitude. We have to like it first.
Yeah,
cool.
And it's been so hard too, because like I said, we did the album 2 already. I want to release it already. It's just, it hurts to hold on to this stuff.
Chomping at the bit.
Yeah. Do you
have bands from like back in the 80s and even the 70s? They would release 2 albums a year almost sometimes.
Right.
Yeah. I can't see that doing that now in these days, but it's very tempting to want to do that.
Don't worry, we'll have 20 albums out in 10 years.
Nice. Do you have a target date? Is it too early at this point?
No, we're not even thinking about
way too early. We even have the artwork. Everything's pretty much done except for like photos and stuff like that. But no date yet.
Okay. Yeah,
we were kind of playing like with the thing, because this album was released May 2nd, so maybe next year it'll be released May 2nd too. But I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, I like that. That's cool. I like that. So I know you're all busy guys and your parents. I was curious about in terms of like live performance. Do you have any time at all to do any sort of shows? Are there any plans for shows to promote the album?
We've been asked. Actually, Carnivore AD asked us if we would play a show with them.
Oh, nice.
I'm really good friends with Baron, and well, we both live in the same county. Nice. The problem is it's, we all want to play these songs out, but like the same reason why a lot of bands cancel their European tours, the logistics have to make sense. Like we have to make availability for practice, and 4 of us live in New York, 1 of us lives in Pennsylvania. We figure, well, if that is difficult for us to do, then we'll just compensate by just creating just more stuff for people to consume. So I would love to be a live band. If we have to adjust with being a studio band, that's okay too, because people just want to hear good music. Yeah. But I know I'd love to play it out one day. So
nice. Yeah. A Carnivore AD Severed Angels show would be killer. That would be great. Great band. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I've interviewed Baron, actually, and super nice guy. Yeah, really, really friendly guy. Really fun to chat.
I'm not name dropping. I'm not trying to be Eddie Trunk here. I'm just saying,
No, yeah.
Like I was so flattered that he wanted us on the bill with him.
Yeah, that's great. Well, and I think that's testament to your musical chops, your the prowess you guys have. I mean, and I think anybody that listens to the album will, or the singles will know that right off the bat, that there's a lot happening there. There's a lot of raw talent for sure. That's what grabbed me initially was, and I'm trying to think of what the first song I heard was. I think it was one of the singles rather than the album. And I don't recall what it was. It might have been
The Fate Worse Than Death.
I think that might have been it. Yeah. And it was one of those where it just kind of grabbed me, and right away. It's like, whoa, what is this? Who is this? I gotta check this out. So, and I loved your cover of Ghosts, Square Hammer. That was excellent.
Thanks.
Fantastic job. So
yeah, that was fun. Wayne brought that up out of nowhere. He's like, let's do a Ghost cover. I'm like, seriously? Like, this song's not even 10 years old. But it worked.
Yeah, definitely worked. Yeah, I think you guys really nailed it. I really enjoyed it.
George's old band was actually supposed to cover that song, and they kind of broke up.
Oh,
so
okay.
I was like, yeah.
Maybe
So I was
kinda.
like, well, at the time I didn't know what was going on. So I kind of stole the idea. I said, well, they're not going to do it. We might as well just do it.
Nice.
And it came out fun. I'm a huge Ghost fan, so I love doing that song. So it was awesome.
Yeah.
And it came out really good too. And a lot of people say it's better than the Ghost version. But, hey.
Well, they definitely like the guitar solos better in this one than in the
Yes.
Ghost one. That's what they said.
That's what I thought the guitar work was excellent. I mean, the whole thing, even you guys really just nailed it. But I mean, yeah, I thought, there's something about your version I guess maybe it's a little more rockin', a little edgier.
It's a little heavier because I did go back and listen to the original one, and it's a little light, and they're not a metal band anyway, they're a rock band.
Yeah.
We put our DNA on it. So
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. It seems like you guys really gel well, and your sound, for me as a listener, it seems very collaborative. You guys fit really well. I was curious, and I know you come from different, you mentioned before that kind of different backgrounds and different, favorites in terms of what you listen to. So I was curious, like when you formed Severed Angel, did you have a direction you wanted to go like right off the bat, or was it discussed, or it's like, hey, we want to sound this way, or is it just kind of organically happened?
Yeah, pretty much.
It was pretty organic. I mean, everyone contributed songs. Mark contributed Introspection and Severed Angel. George contributed Wide Awake and Screamland. Alice contributed Attachment Unavailable. And the song with Wings Anew was definitely a collaborative effort between him and me. Okay. With the other songs, it's just, I didn't even put pen to paper to write out or theorize riffs, to see how they would sound. It was just, let me see what I could come up with on the Dean, the black guitar behind me, and it just worked out. And the problem was I couldn't stop. And it was like, guys, we got too many riffs here, and what do we do? And Alex is he's I call Wayne the Svengali of the band, but Alex is like the prodigy of the band, because he is a great producer, a great guitarist, a great musician and songwriter, and a great arranger. So, I come from the Steve Clark of Def Leppard school, where it's you write the riffs, and Alex is able to construct songs out of them.
Oh, okay.
So it just so happened that we still haven't come across a point in time where someone said that's not right for us, or that idea sucks. That hasn't happened yet, and I knock on wood, it doesn't.
Nice. Yeah,
that's been the great thing about this band. No matter what we do, it's like everybody agrees that the song's good. There's even a song that we're working on now, and it's very 80s oriented. It's very keyboardy. It's got those rototom sounds. It's because it's for something that we're working on.
I don't mind talking about it.
Right, you can talk about that.
So my friend Tom Seymour, who is a film director, and he's also a college professor of film, he's the director of VHS Massacre 1 and 2, which was distributed by Trauma, the guys who did Toxic Avenger. Right. And, he's currently working on a third volume of that. And he actually asked us if we would consider writing something. Oh, so, cool. That kind of got the creative juices flowing, where we were like, let's make it a metal song, but let's give it that 80s, pseudo retro futuristic type thing, just have fun with it.
Yeah.
And it was a 2-week work in progress. We're just waiting on one more thing, and the song's done.
Nice. And it came out awesome. It's a little bit different than our other stuff, but it sounds like us. It's just something else added in there, and it sounds really cool. I love it.
I can't wait to hear that. That sounds great. Do you when are you going to release that? Do you have to wait until the film's out, or are you going to?
It's a non-exclusive license thing. I mean, Tom being same situation as us, independent artists, monetary compensation is not something that we could provide each other. But we just said, hey, look, we'll let you use the song, but we'll release it on our own. So this way, if it gets streams, we're taken care of. And if your film gets shown or promoted, then they'll know that we wrote it, and then they'll look at us, and we'll tell people, hey, check out the film. that this song's part of. So, you know, it's a win-win.
Yeah, definitely. I love that. That's great.
We'll see what happens if Peacock decides to pick it up.
Well, that's one thing I that also struck me that's really evident on particularly on your Facebook page. You know, you know, it seems like not only do you guys work so well together as a band, you know, collaborating, but I mean, just what you said there with, you know, working with this film director, but also you promote other bands all the time on your page. You're constantly promoting other musicians, which I think is great because you see a little bit of that, but not to the degree I think that you guys are doing, where, you know, it's like, hey, check out this band, this new band. And, you know, in a lot of, you know, kind of underground or you know, unsigned bands, you know, you promoted on there, which is cool, which I've checked out and went, oh wow, this band's great. You know, I'd never heard of this band before, and so I think that's great that you guys are, you know, doing something like that, because I think we need more of that in this world. You know, really.
Definitely. That's why I kind of started doing it. There's a Facebook group on called Band Together. A lot of people on there, and it's all bands, and everybody's sharing their things. And you know, it gave me the idea so to share a lot of because a lot of people are sharing our stuff. So you know, we have to return the favor, and you have to network with other bands too, because you don't know, like their fans will come to you. You know, they share your stuff. Their fans like your songs or whatever. You're going to get their fans, and our fans are going to like their music, and they'll get our fans too. So you have to keep the circle going. You know,
Yeah,
and it's the only way everybody's going to really get anywhere in this music business.
You can't depend on terrestrial radio anymore to you know, find new bands. I mean, there's some good bands that get played on well, there was a newer alternative station out in New York City, but now they're talk radio. You know, the problem is it's like, you know, people don't want to listen to the radio to, you know, hear new stuff unless it's like your formulaic, forgettable 3-minute pop tune, or, you know, stuff that they played ad nauseum in the 90s. Yeah. I mean, you know, when a hard rock station stuck playing the same playlist that I remember listening to in 95, 96, it's like, all right, you don't have anything to offer me that, right. You know, because, you know, we're not the youngest guys, but we're also not at the point in our lives where we don't like to consume new stuff or promote it, you know, and then that's important. I mean, I realize, and I even experienced this at an Iron Maiden concert one time. I remember it was the Matter of Life and Death tour where they played the entire album from start to finish. I thought that was a cool idea. Yeah. Whether I liked the album or not, I was like, okay, I'm willing to give it a chance live. And I enjoyed the concert, but I remember hearing other people saying, you know, that they wanted to hear The Trooper. They wanted to hear, you know, Run to the Hills. That's all they wanted to hear. And I'm just like, okay, they play these songs on every tour. Yeah. Like, open yourself up to something new. Right. You know, otherwise it's going to get boring. I mean, I'm sorry. Kill boring. That's the only thing I could say. Yeah. You know, to death with boring.
Yeah, I'm right.
It's also the reason why I started Rat Salad Review. It's also to help bands, you know, and because it's always something. Even when I had my other bands, that I always felt that bands that we've played shows with and stuff, they only cared about themselves, and doing that does not get you anywhere. You have to help everybody. Yeah, and if you're only in it for yourself, you're not getting anywhere.
There's a huge difference between being a musician and being a wannabe rock star. Yeah. Musicians are more willing to help promote, you know, personalities and music that they like. Rock stars want you to promote them for them, and we're not about that.
No. Yeah, I love that. That's great. Yeah, and I think you both nailed it on the head there. Where I think, you know, especially in this day and age, I know the music industry has changed quite a bit. It's always been, you know, kind of a cutthroat business, but it seems now, in order to get any sort of airplay, or get not even airplay, just noticed and you know, get your name out there, it's much trickier. It seems there's so many streaming, you know, platforms, and as you mentioned, you know, radio, you know, it's not like when we were kids where you had DJs that introduced new music to you. Now it's just so corporate, and like you said, you know, you're hearing the same shit you heard 20 years ago, which is frustrating. You know, especially if you want to hear new sounds, and there's so many great bands out there like yours, and it's like, I'm not going to hear this on the radio. you know, I'm gonna.
Yeah, it's also good to help out bands too, because there's a lot of scammers out there, publicists, record labels, everything.
Whole record labels.
You know, we can get into that too.
Yeah.
But you know, like I try to help. I if I know there's good publicists like Ben, online metal promo, I try to get people to use him or whatever. If they don't want to use him, I'll show him places, that websites or whatever that we've been on and stuff like that, to help them out and stuff. So it's just so many things out there you got to be aware of. And we've been kind of going through stuff ourselves with a record label and everything. So
we won.
We did win. But we're trying to make sure nobody else, it doesn't happen to anybody else. So
yeah, it's frustrating when those, as you mentioned, there's some of these nefarious organizations and various people out there in the business. I mean, it's
insane. I never really thought about that, because I'm not that way. And like I said, I started my podcast to help bands, and I would never think to screw a band or ask for money and not do what I said I was going to do for anybody. And then to find out there are people out there like that just makes me sick.
Yeah, I'm very proud of Wayne, because we grew to, like, when I joined the show there was about 500 subs. Now we're at over 950, and that's all organic. Like we think our content speaks for itself. And who we have. So
nice. Yeah, I agree. That's great. We'll switch gears a little bit.
We didn't pay for bots for that.
Yeah. If maybe we'll take a ride in the Wayback Machine. And maybe we'll start with you, Wayne. I was curious how you got started in music initially. Did you come from a musical family? Kind of what was the impetus for you to join this crazy ride?
Not really a musical family. The only one that was really interested in music was my grandfather. I would always come over to his house, and he played trumpet and guitar and all this stuff, and he constantly played music. So he would always be having his records on, or his 8-tracks or whatever. And I would sit down on the floor, I have some boxes, and pretend I'm playing drums on the boxes and stuff like that, and pretend I know how I'm playing guitar or whatever. But I pretty much got my music thing from him. He always wanted me to go towards music. Cool. Because I was never into sports, so music ended up being my thing. So I ended up taking guitar lessons. That didn't go very well. I heard some guy come into the music store and start playing drums, and I was like, "That's awesome! I want to play that. It's loud and annoying. That's for me." So that was how I got into drums.
Very cool. Very cool. How about you, Lou?
My late brother Michael was the reason why I wanted to be a musician, because I thought he was. I was very inspired by him, with his bass guitar in our room that we shared growing up, and just watching him play, being able to hear him play Black Sabbath one second and Rush the next second, and I wanted to be just like him. So he inspired me to be a musician, but I always say my Mount Rushmore, Tony Iommi, Randy Rhoads, Eddie Van Halen, and Richie Blackmore. Nice. Made me want to be a guitar player. I can remember seeing the Jump video on, it was a Saturday afternoon music video show on a broadcast television network. Might have been ABC. I remember seeing the Jump video, and I just remember Eddie with the Frankenstrap with the Kramer headstock. And just seeing him smile while he was playing, that's what really got to me. It's like, I want to feel the joy that he's feeling doing what he loves doing. And money's great and all that. Don't get me wrong. I mean, you don't have money, you can't feed your family. But, I wanted to feel that same joy that he was feeling, and I remember 12 years old, I remember telling my dad that I wanted to learn guitar. And he asked me, how bad do you want to learn it? I said, I'm willing to do anything. He said, will you learn a different instrument beforehand? I said, deal. So I learned trumpet for 6 months. Next thing I know, he bought me this cheap little piece of crap, $100 acoustic from like the local mom and pop shop. And he gave me a Mel Bay book. And he said, all right, you've earned it. And, I just couldn't stop. Like Wayne, I wasn't interested in sports growing up. I mean, I grew up a Yankee fan, but after Don Mattingly quit, I had no interest anymore because, number 23 was my favorite. so, guitar just consumed my life. I'd come home from school, do my homework, play guitar, stop for dinner, and go back to playing guitar again. Video games, sports, none of that stuff meant anything to me. It was just
No video
guitar.
games, huh?
What's that?
No video games, huh?
Well, we had Genesis, but I mean, after Terminator 2, the arcade game, all other game. Well, no, when Mortal Kombat came out, I did stop to play that for a little bit, but then I went back to guitar.
It was always video games and drums for me every day, just like you. After I come home from school, I went to my room and started playing. I opened my windows so my neighbors make sure they would hear me playing too.
Yeah, but one of the hardest things about being a guitar player in your teens in the 90s, you wanted to learn from the guys that influenced that era. So like, I would listen to Blackmore all the time. I listened to Randy Rhoads and Iommi, and and I would listen to Dimebag religiously. I loved Pantera growing up. But I remember every time, someone said, "Hey, you should audition for my band." So like I'd go there and like, I'd play something. They'd be like, "Yeah, but can you play this?" And then they'd play the riff that smells like Teen Spirit. And then I picked up my guitar and I'd be like, "Okay, you failed the audition," and I'd walk out. I didn't want to play that,
Right.
nothing against Nirvana, but it's just to me, challenging myself is fun, and that's what I love about being in Severed Angel, is that I'm always challenged to, write something better than what I did before without losing like, musicality and melody.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's funny you diss Nirvana like that, because seeing that Smells Like Teen Spirit video and seeing Dave Grohl play drums and the way he was playing, it was like a 3-piece kit, and it sounds like he had like a 20-piece kit. And just the way he was playing, that like influenced me to want to be a better drummer. So
You know what it was
that
for
you
me?
don't like Nirvana.
Alice in Chains and Soundgarden were a bigger influence for me because of the
I
way the
love them
guitar
too.
sounded.
Let's see your guitars. I'm a drummer, so
Yeah.
And that's fine. Yeah, Dave Grohl is a great drummer.
he's awesome, man.
Yeah.
And people give him so much shit. I hate that.
Yeah, I've never understood that either. I think
He's
a great drummer.
he's good at everything,
Yeah.
I mean,
If
maybe he's
Lemmy
annoying because he's always on something. Every time you turn TVs on, there's Dave Grohl. I
Yeah.
get it.
If Lemmy liked him, that's good enough for me.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. So Wayne, so Lou mentioned, kind of his Mount Rushmore of guitar players, as far as influences. Who were your big influences as a drummer?
There is no Mount Rushmore.
There isn't. Yeah, no, there really isn't. I don't know. There are drummers I do like, because I have said on other interviews there I really don't have any influences, and I really don't. My influence has been mostly bands, like Halloween and Iron Maiden, Metallica, and stuff like that. As far as like drummers go, Mickey D is like a huge one for me. That's probably the biggest one for me.
Very
But Nick and Mutt Brain, the usual drummers. What's the guy from Soundgarden?
Matt Cameron.
Matt Cameron. Yeah, he's awesome too. So
monster drummer. Yeah, he's
he's another one. He's got like this small kit, and it makes it sound like he's got all these drums and stuff on there. People that can do stuff like that, it's awesome. It's beyond me.
Yeah, Matt Cameron's insane. I'll tell you, there's nothing more fun than playing Rusty Cage with a bunch of your friends that you've never played it together before, until you go to stage and everyone gets their parts right. That song is not easy.
And neither is Jesus Christ Pose. When I heard that song, I was trying to learn how to play that thing, and I saw him play it live, and I'm like, holy crap, man, that guy's just all over the place. And he changes the patterns in like the middle of the song. I'm like, how do you remember what that does? It's insane.
Yeah.
There's some good stuff growing in Seattle at the time, I guess.
Yeah. I'm not a musician,
drums.
definitely not a drummer, but and this is my untrained ear, but I just felt Matt Cameron had kind of that power of Bonham, but kind of more the precision of Ward. In a lot of ways is kind of what I always, at least anytime I'd hear him play, I'd always think of. Not that he sounded exactly like it, but I'd always think of Led Zeppelin and Black Sabbath. My mind would go there.
Yeah. And he's another one, John Bonham, another one of my favorites. I was a huge Led Zeppelin fan when I was younger too. And watching him play all that stuff live and stuff, and then that drum solo that he used to do, that stuff was awesome.
Yeah. I mean, I love Jimmy Page, but I think I love him more as a songwriter.
Yeah.
To me, I could hear the Rain song over and over again and just like completely get lost in what he wrote with that. So
yeah, very cool. Yeah, very powerful song. I was curious about the and we touched on this already a little bit, but as I mentioned at the beginning of the interview, there's a lot of different nuances with your music. There's a lot going on. So you're not just a straightforward heavy metal band, even though you guys definitely rock. But there's definitely some progressive elements. I was wondering, does that come more from Mark, in terms of, because some of your songs have, and I hate doing all the comparisons, but there's almost a Dream Theater, Fate's Warning
Get that
vibe.
comparison.
That's
because of Alex.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
Mark is the more symphonic guy.
Oh,
Alex
okay.
is definitely the more progressive guy.
Oh, okay, interesting. Okay,
Not that that's a bad thing. I love Dream Theater and Fate's Warning. But we compared. Go ahead.
I mean, like, Wayne played power metal when I first met him. At the time, I was playing metalcore. Like we were playing with bands like I was in bands where we were playing with groups like Sky Came Falling and Inhuman. So, we all have different backgrounds, but for some reason, when the five of us get together to, compose something, it just works.
Yeah, it definitely is an interesting blend of, I mean, yeah, for lack of a better term, it's traditional metal and power metal ish, but then there's all these other things happening, which is, and the more the more I've listened to the album and the singles, but particularly the album, every time there's something new. I hear something new that I hadn't heard before. I did think it was weird. I read, and I don't remember where I read this. I wish I could remember where it came from. But it was a review of the album, and it was very positive. But I thought it was interesting because the reviewer called your band symphonic metal, and I'm like, I don't know if I'd call it symphonic metal. I mean, there's some symphonic elements in terms of the keyboards, but I found that odd because it didn't really fit for me. But
I think I remember what review you're talking about.
Yeah, I know that. I think that was Keith Abbott. I think who did that one. He wrote a really great review.
A different one.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, we just call ourselves melodic metal. I mean, we never we never want to disregard melody in our songs because that's just what we like, and we don't want to just grab people's attention. We kind of like want to pull at their heartstrings and make them feel something when they listen to it. But, like I said, we have to like it first.
Cool. Yeah, I like that. I like the fact that your focus is on not on necessarily making money. I mean, money's always good, but on fulfilling your desire to make great music. I think that's cool.
I went through 3 years of playing Mustang Sally on a weekly basis, and I'm just sick of it.
Yeah, I can understand that. So the new material that you guys have been putting together for the next two albums, is it in the same vein? Are you I don't know if you're willing to talk about it too much, but yeah, I was kind of curious, are you kind of going down that same path? Are you doing different things? Like what is your focus right now?
It's growth.
Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead, Wayne.
It's similar, but it's the next step up. It's definitely a step up from this album. There's a lot more heavier side, I think, to a lot more, because Lou also does some vocals too. He does like these really guttural, death metal type vocals, and that's in the album a lot. Yeah, you wouldn't tell by looking at him.
No,
like that.
I look like a Poindexter.
Yeah.
But
yeah, he came up with all those things, and I'm like, oh my god, this is like insane. So there's a lot of that stuff on the album.
Yeah, and there's a little bit of that in the
a little bit. We touch on a little tiny bit, but the next one is going to be a lot more.
Yeah, there's on this album. I mean, there's that breakdown in With Wings Anew. That's me. Okay. Fate Worse Than Death. That's me. Screaming the doing the scream part in the chorus. Alex is actually taking on more of that too. Yeah. So now it's like it's at a point where it's like both of our voices kind of blended together. But yeah, no, this album, there's definite maturity or growth. I mean, there's nothing. People always make the joke about AC/DC releasing the same album every time, and I love AC/DC.
Yeah.
There's to me, especially the Bon Scott era. Yeah. Like that's something that I'll never get sick of. But we didn't want to redo the self-titled album again. We wanted to see, okay, where can we go from here?
And actually, the singles kind of show you where the second album does go, because it's a little bit heavy, a little bit more aggressive.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's a little bit of a a teaser, I guess.
Cool.
Yeah, but I wouldn't be surprised if there's one particular song on the second album that I think will, make heads turn in a good way.
Okay.
There's a lot of good stuff on the next album. Actually, they're all good to me, but there's gonna be some really cool songs. I think people are gonna be kind of surprised with, especially from the first album.
Yeah, I'll give you a little teaser,
Okay.
Meister. There's I remember I took my daughter to go to a children's museum, and they were having a dinosaur exhibit, and she thought the dinosaurs were real. She didn't realize that they were extinct. She didn't realize that the puppetronics were, it was machinery. And I said,
Right.
I told her, I said, sweetheart, those aren't real. So there was one breed of prehistoric animal that we saw, and its name was Siddipati, and in parentheses it said funeral pyre lord.
Oh.
And I said, that would be a killer metal song.
Yeah. Well.
So that's just a quick teaser. I'm not going to say anything more than that.
I like it. I like it.
But let me just say this: we always mean to melt faces. We didn't realize we would destroy an island with this song. So,
all right.
I think that's also probably my favorite song of that next album, and it's a song that I wish I've been wanting to write for a long time. So I'm glad I finally got that out.
All right. Yeah, I'm intrigued for sure. I can't wait to hear this.
Yeah, that one's definitely awesome. It's good.
That sounds really cool. Do you not that you need to, because you guys have great original material, but as I mentioned before, I loved your Ghost cover. Do you have any intention of doing any more covers?
We just did the Rush song, Time Stands Still. Wasn't really a Severed Angel song. It was a Rat Salad Review and Friends cover. Okay. But it was a Severed Angel band doing that one. So we just did that one. I don't know. We might do another cover here or there, but we really just want to stick with the original stuff.
Yeah. We're having too much fun. Cool. We're having too much fun creating.
Yeah, that's a good thing, I think. And and you guys, like I said before, I mean, in what, a year and a half, you've been incredibly prolific in what you've been putting out, and it's all quality too. It's not, every song you put out is another gem. I think that's one thing I really love about the self-titled album is there's definitely no filler. Every song is, it's one of those albums you listen to like, oh, this song's my favorite song on the album. And the next song comes on like, nope, this is now my favorite song on the album. Nope, this is.
Ralph Vieira actually, I love this review of our album, but first he said number 8 was his favorite song on the album. And then he talked about With Wings Anew, and he said, this is my favorite song on the album. I'm like, well Ralph, which is it? But big shout out to Ralph, because he helped us out with the opening track. He did the ending narration on it. So
okay, nice. Okay, very cool. Yeah, and Wings.
Cover songs are cool, but you know what? We do talk about them once in a while in our chats and stuff like that. But then, I'll come up with something, and then Lou's like, well, what about this one? And then what about this one? And what about that song? So there's so many songs that we would love to cover, and it's just it's time consuming, and I think we have more fun writing our own original songs than we do covers, to be honest.
Yeah. Listen, though, people, do not ask us to cover Never Gonna Give You Up by Rick Astley, because we're not going to do it.
They'll never get up asking though.
That's great. Well, gentlemen, this has been an absolute pleasure chatting with you tonight. And for those watching, please look in the description below. There are links to Severed Angels pages. If you have not heard them, get on Bandcamp right now. Check them out. Buy the CD.
Buy the CD right here.
Buy the CD right there, and it comes with 6 bonus tracks, right?
6 bonus tracks. That's right. You will only get the bonus tracks from us. I mean, they're available digitally, but they're all here on a CD for the first time. So buy it at the Bandcamp, severedangel.bandcamp.com.
Or you can go straight to our website, severedangel.com, click on the link on the homepage, and that'll take you to the Bandcamp. And just remember, for every CD that you buy, you get the 9 original songs written for this album as MP3s for free. So there's your incentive.
Nice. I love it.
And for our other links, go to our link tree. That's linktr.ee/Severed Angel.
Very cool. Well, thank you so much. Again, this was great. Really enjoyed chatting with you, and cannot wait to hear new music in the coming years from the mighty Severed Angel. So thank you, gentlemen.
Very much.
Appreciate it. Thanks.
Thank you very much for having us on. I had a lot of fun.
Hail to